If you've been following the channel for a while, then you might have seen my Mini. And you might remember my gripes with it being far too large to be called a Mini. So I made the Mini Mini. And yes, it was a lot smaller. But today we've got something truly tiny. In fact, I'm pretty certain it's the smallest RC car in the world. Meet the Mini Mini Mini. Its actual name is the Turbo Racing 176 scale RC car, and oh my god is this thing cool. It's hard to get across just how tiny it is on camera, but you can have so much fun just driving this thing around your desk. It's so tiny that you can drive it anywhere, even inside your computer if the mood takes you. The best part is that it has fully proportional controls, so you can steer incredibly precisely and have extremely accurate throttle control. The controller that came with the kit has a bunch of potentiometers on it, so you can adjust the trim and sensitivity of both the steering and the throttle, making it super easy to adjust the controls for tight precision maneuvers or full throttle sending. It's by far the most advanced RC car I've ever owned, and the fact that it's in a chassis the length of a couple pennies is just mind-bending. The car charges by USB Type-C, which is handy, but the controller is more old school and takes AAAs. They seem like they'll last for yonks though, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. A nice touch is that the kit provides you with 2 spare shells for the car, so you can do custom paint jobs without the risk of trashing the original. Or if, like me, you're not that bothered about painting, you can use the spare shells for hacky experiments. The instant I saw this thing, I knew I needed to whack a camera on it. So I dug out my old Tiny Whoop drone and borrowed its tiny FPV camera. Unfortunately, taking power from the car directly is pretty fiddly, so I found the smallest LiPo in my box of tricks and opted to use that instead. I had to change the connector on the battery to match the camera, which is no biggie. But I was rushing and I shorted out the battery, which can make a nice house fire if you're not careful. So don't be an idiot like me, and do it one wire at a time if you need to do the same. Luckily I had a bunch of these batteries, so all's well that ends well. After sorting the connectors, I just used some Velcro to attach the camera and battery to the roof of the car. Hot glue or some kind of tack would probably be a better choice, but the Velcro works okay, especially for the battery. Unfortunately, I don't currently own any FPV goggles, but I still have this handy receiver that I can plug into my phone to view the feed. I'll link all the bits that work for this in the description if you're itching to do some tiny FPV racing too. This setup works great. The FPV transmitter only draws a tiny amount compared to a drone, so the battery lasts for ages. And driving this way is really fun. I don't know if it's just down to my years of FPV shenanigans, but I found that it's kind of easier to drive this way. Another camera I tried out was the Quilema SQ12. This thing's basically a tiny GoPro, and I just velcroed it onto the roof. The car is so tiny that it actually looks huge somehow, but it handles just fine. This camera allows you to film in HD, which is pretty sick, but unfortunately, this and the FPV setup at the same time is a bit top heavy and crazy looking. Not impossible though. One of the most fun things to do with the Mini 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 is to make tiny racetracks around the house. You can use anything that you have lying around for some instant micro machine style action. One of my favourites so far was the one I made from a 5-meter ARGB strip and some L-shaped drainpipe connectors to make tight little tunneled corners. The FPV setup was perfect for this, but unfortunately it was next to impossible with the SQ12 on top. Need a bigger pipe for that. Or just a few months of practice, I suppose. I'd recommend getting a longer strip if you want to try this, but the effect is amazing and it gives a really unique look in the FPV feed. So that's about it for this one. Massive thanks to Banggood for sending this out for review. Really impressed with it overall. It's one of those little toys that you pick up and suddenly you've been driving it around for 15 minutes. Really, really addictive. The only thing I'd like to see in the future is maybe the addition of an all-terrain model that could handle some light bumps, as this one's only for very smooth surfaces. That'd be really fun. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any modding ideas or track suggestions, and maybe you'll be seeing the Mini 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 in the future. Hit subscribe so you don't miss future projects, and I'll catch you in the next one. Toodles.
Yo.